have a devastating effect on the family. That senior has a lot of information, just like we experienced the biscuit making today. Okay, a lot of the young women nowadays don't even know how to make the biscuit. Okay, my elders and the neighbors that raised me in my community when I was a child taught me how to crochet, taught me how to knit, taught me how to sew, taught me how to starch a shirt, making starch out of flour. Okay, taught me how to make a complete meal. Even went out in the suburbs and bought live chickens and brought them back into the city for me to kill on the kitchen table. Now I said, now why is this important? Okay, but if I have to do it, I can make a fresh meal from scratch. Things like that, the elders know. You know what I'm saying? Those are important necessities that you need to know. Okay, having a neighbor that is a professional. Okay, my mother made $5 a week cleaning houses. Okay, the lady that lived next door to me was a teacher, and on the other side it was a doctor. Okay, every morning I got up to go to school, I had people going to work, doing important things, coming to get me to make sure if my mother didn't have the money to socialize me, my next door neighbor did it. Okay, I didn't have to worry about seeing the 5 stair steps, the miracles, or nobody. Because if my mother didn't have that money, somebody from that block, the man that worked behind the stage, I liked him the best. Because I could go behind the stage to see the miracles and everything because he ran the theater. So that was the person I would always like to come to get me to take me to the Royal Theater in Baltimore, Maryland, because it was going to be on, because I was going to be hanging out with the Temptations, all those groups that were going to come on after that movie show. So the neighbor thing is important, along with the money and the maintenance.
One of the things I hear.
Okay? Yes, it's and it's got to be, and it has to be, if African American culture is going to have this genesis or this rebirth, then these are the type of things that have to happen. It's not just the housing. It's not giving the person a life skills class. It's making sure that that neighbor next door loves you and is going to protect you. Or like you say, if that child has to go get that grocery or trying to work because she on the clock for that public aid check and she's going to be cited with neglect because she couldn't find the child care, if you as the neighbor says, okay, I'll watch this baby until we resolve this child care issue, instead of, it ain't my problem. We can't exist like that. You know, you have to be a part of it.
One of the things I hear both of you saying is that you talk about life skills classes. That's one of the things the CHA has, these programs. But if the communities were kept intact and the elders were still there, that's the life skills class.
Yes, that's the class.
And you wouldn't,
the elders.
Yeah, right.
There's 2 things I would like to say. Back to the Rosenwald building. My foster son lived there kind of in the late years. And when he was telling us that when you'd come there, there was certain people, gang people, who said who could come in, who could go out. And you know, when you start having that kind of thing, everything goes wrong, because they decided, you know, I'm in charge of this hallway here, I'm in charge of these steps, like in Robert Taylor. Young lady I knew who lived there, she said when she get ready to go in the house, some 13-year-old gonna pat her down. Where you going? She said, I live here. So that was a real part of that. We allowed them to become the owners. And I tell them in the prison now, I say, you all may as well forget it, because Mayor Dale told y'all the spot down that you used to run. You know, you didn't tell them you were gone, and you didn't leave no taxes. They're gone. So they're looking at me like, what am I going to do now? I said, I don't know. But the other thing is, when they decided to take out of our community supermarkets, where are young women going to go and buy groceries? There's no groceries. There's 8 or 10 fast food places everywhere you look. You know, I went way over on the west side. I think it was in the Mexican community. I kept saying, well, where's the McDonald's? Where's the Burger King? I didn't see that. I saw grocery stores. Now, when you come here, where I live on 41st and King Drive, there's one supermarket on 35th Street. How many blocks does that take up? But on 35th, anything you want to buy that's already cooked is what you can find. So, see, that's a real important thing, that people don't have anywhere to buy groceries. They can't buy anything but Colonel Sanders or whatever. So these children are eating fast foods from morning till night. And the parents too. We got all the obesity going on that it's getting very dangerous.
So it's just
Till
like
we
a
get some
circle.
stores, yeah, until we have some place for you to buy some. Where can you buy some vegetables? Just go outside. That's why I like Africa.
Right.
You can go outside and you can pick your vegetables, pick whatever you want, go home, cook them that day, fresh. We can't do that.
Have we gotten around to, I know it's even as like 30 or 40 years ago that people had community gardens still where people,
Sure did.
you know, could do that. If part of the South was right on the block where you live.
Mhm.
Are we moving away from that too?
Seen a
From
few
your
of them.
experience?
If
Yeah.
the people can stay somewhere long enough,
Yeah.
they will start a garden. But that's difficult as they're moving there. You know, so many vacant lots, but then there's somebody's got to watch your vegetables. See if you. I remember once I had some corn. I came out there, that corn was gone. I said, well, look at that. It took all my corn.
But that's a good thing. So.
Yeah, I know.
Some people are going back down south and they're cultivating their farmland, and I have at least 2 or 3 friends who have farms in their family in the south, and they go down to pick their food and bring it back here in the fall.
One of my great memories as a kid was that everybody I realized on my block was their grandparents were from Mississippi. And so this guy had a big garden and he grew sugar cane. So even if you had never been down south, you knew, you know, it's like they brought it back. You know?
Okay.
So everything was right there.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any more questions or anything?
Regarding Bronxville community, are there any recorded statistics regarding AIDS and HIV?
Yes, the city health department has a breakdown of the epidemic disease proportions for each community by ward. You can also go into the reference section of the Harold Washington Library, and they're open like every day. They also document it also. You can get those at the library, or you can get it from the Department of Health.
Would you want to elaborate on that? Because I think that's a really good point, talking about what's going on in the community now, and from your work in the prisons, I know you have experience with this. HIV in our communities as it relates to young men and increasingly young women. Now, what are we seeing?
You know, one thing, I know so many people, they talk about Reverend Jackson, Jesse Jackson Sr. I said, but I don't know anybody else who has said, we're going to bring the HIV people here, and we're going to have all the preachers come up here and do it right in front of your faces, and they go back to their church this Sunday and do that. And I know that I was in there. I didn't know how you do it. Everybody think you stick needles in your stuff. So we did this on the TV in a press conference. Then when I found that out, I asked a young man that I know who works in it, I said, come to my house. Everybody in my house going to be here, and you're going to give every one of them a test. So that's what I did. I mean, as soon as I found out that you can do that, I said, I'm not waiting for the people in my house to go anywhere, because they're not going. They think they're going to do something to them. But I told them, I said, you all come here Saturday. Everybody who live here, a part of my house better be here. Right, Joe? Everybody in my house took that. I said, you know, we have to do some of these things. Us leaders.
Yes.
Beat them up and make them do it. So I know they're glad that happened. Now, in the prison, I don't know. We're trying to get people to come in and do different things. It's becoming very hard to get good volunteers in. And if people hear me saying this, they can do whatever they want to. I do work for you all, but I'm telling the truth. You got to stop turning our volunteers around, good volunteers who come and want to do various things. I have people who want to come and teach about AIDS. I have people come want to do nutrition, but sometimes as they put the application in, somebody way in Springfield look at, oh, I see you went to visit somebody 50 years ago. No, I'm sorry, you can't come in. Little old silly stuff
So
like
this
that.
is the state.
Yeah, Department of Correction. That's one of the things I'm getting ready to have a real work argument with them on. I'm gonna get a list of everyone who has applied that was turned down for some serious, stupid reason. Oh, you went to see somebody 5 years ago. You didn't put it on your plate. Well, I didn't know. I didn't remember. Well, you must be trying to fool us. People not trying to fool you. People trying to come in there and help their people. And you wrote to somebody years ago. No, I'm sorry, you can't come. It's just silly stuff.
Because for those of you who don't know, I mean, you are a
Community
chaplain
need
with
to get more
the
involved with
department.
what they do in the prison, because all the people, 82% of the people in the prison are coming out. We have 48,000 people locked up. Now, I don't know the math, but I'm saying 82% are coming out. There's only a few going to stay in there. First of all, you're talking about housing, where they going. Right now, that day when they say, okay, we let 7 people out, where are you going to live? I don't know. Shelter for you. Where are you going to live? I don't know. Shelter for you. Where are the shelters? Then they come outside and you say, why they keep coming back? They don't plan on going back, but I don't understand what they can do. You know, I've seen them put 7 young men on the train coming from Pinckneyville with their little cardboard boxes, little black pants, a white shirt, and a little jacket. And if they had any money on the books, they subtract. They don't give them that. So they come to Chicago. You can't go very far with $5 on the trains and buses. You can't, because it charge you $1.80 if you transfer, right?
Yeah.
And then people say, oh, they love to come back. I said, no, they don't love to come back. But put your, as my mama said, walk in their moccasins in 48 hours and see what you would do.
Well, Mother, how could someone like those that are going to view the film and those here in the audience contact you to become volunteers or make phone calls on behalf of their own churches or organizations that might want to come out collectively to support?
Yeah, well, I have a coordinator who should have been here today, who coordinates whatever church that says they're interested, or whatever people. We do orientation for them and tell them what it means, because before we try to sign on, we tell them what it's all about, because a lot of people have no idea what going in prison might mean. You know, I remember some young lady we took to Pontiac many years ago, and she said, oh my goodness, I didn't know I was going to go right down the center of where they're sitting. I didn't know that, and they haven't seen no young woman in a long time. I said, honey, that boys ain't thinking about you. They want to hear what you got to say. Oh my goodness. I said, oh, please. But I had no idea. I didn't tell her. You will be where they are. You won't be somewhere and they one place, you another. That's if that's what you want to do. However, that's, you know, everybody doesn't have to do that. And that's why Dr. Burroughs teaches creative writing. We need people with other skills, you know, music, art, history, nutrition, all the things that other people learn, they need. And at this point, we do not have as many staff as we once have, and I think it's getting to be small. I heard the governor the other day, they're not hiring, and people are retiring. So that means we're short on a lot of, and so that means no programs.
One of the things you said I thought was striking, and it seems so simplistic, but I think a lot of people still don't grasp, is that the percentage of people, they are getting out. The
Yes,
majority of people, they're coming back, and they're coming back into the community.
There's no other place.
Yeah.
And people say, why you work with them? I said, because they come back where I live. That's why.
Yeah.
So I have to do that.
What I wanted to say is I have 3 summits coming up, and we may elect to do them all together, but do breakouts, affordable housing, job development, business development. If there are people in the listening audience that have some expertise that they could lend to this, they can reach me at area code 773-285-2852. And they can email artzone, like it sounds, ARTZONE @blackplanet.com. To further address the issue of AIDS, one of the things that we see happening in the African American community is that we don't feel like there is aggressive outreach going. There's a lot of places where you can go to, in other words, there are a lot of people that are getting funded, but the outreach, we're not seeing it or feeling it. The indicators, they say that in our culture there still is a lot of denial about it. And because it's hard to believe that a parent is not teaching their children the birds and the bees at this point, but there's still some of that going on. And then as nurses, I remember when Reverend Jackson held the first press conference about AIDS and its epidemics in the African American community. When the clergy took it over, what we were trying to explain to the church is that the reason we urged the clergy to teach the safe sex was because the virus is growing and it's infecting at a higher rate than me having enough time to teach the moral or the abstinence. So in order to save lives alongside teaching people the spiritual side of not even having sex or let's say exercising abstinence, you have to teach the safe sex, okay, because the virus is there.
Do you find that there's still a problem? I know several years ago I did an article talking to some of the black churches and how they were dealing or not dealing with HIV earlier in the epidemic. Is there still some reluctance to do that, to do both of these things side by side?
Well, she would have to address that.
From a spiritual?
No, I think it would have to be a progressive church. You know, some churches are not going to tell you anything but preach a sermon. But then there's some who try to learn everything they can. It's like trying to keep people from losing their churches and their homes with taxes. A lot of people buy these places because the Catholics had it and didn't have to pay tax. They don't realize they had already set that up. And so they go in that same building, they look around, they're saying, wait a minute, you owe taxes, they take the church from it. They don't reach out to learn. You know, if there's somebody teaching, sometimes I don't want to be bothered with them, I am not a part of that. And so they stay away. But right now, you need to reach out for everything anybody's trying to teach you because unity. I always talk about the geese. Geese fly in V formation, there's a leader, and the rest of them follow. The leader gets tired, somebody steps up, but they get where they're going. They can come from the south all the way to Canada because they're following leadership. We're so scared to let somebody lead us. We don't want to hear nothing nobody got to say. But anyway, I appreciate this, and I want to give you a couple of numbers. Sure. And I know I've just got to hurry up and get me another fax machine. But 205 East 75th Street is a soul vegetarian. I'm there most every day. Telephone number 773-224-6667. 224-6667. I'm at Stateville on the days when I go to work. 815-727-3607. 5552 is my extension. 815-727-3607. Either one of those places, they will let me know that you're looking for me. And it's so important. We just have so much to do in a short time to do it in.
Anybody else have anything?
I have
Sure.
one thing. You were speaking, Point Mother, about the prisons being released back into society. What do you do when you have, because I met you in 1991, when you have a 16-year-old young male, and he goes to prison with no job history, through 12 and a half years, come out, has associates, computer technology, certificates, construction occupation, and business management. But he's out, he's looking for work. When he goes to do a resume, he has no work history. No one is willing to really take a chance with this African man, this African male. So, are there organizations that will help the ex-offenders when they get out of prison with employment?
There are few. There are a few, and then I look at how some people do when they get out. It's a lot of faith goes with it also, because I tell the young men and women, I say, you know, I think the God made me see all these problems with my children, so I would know how to help somebody. Now, my daughter was in Dwight many years ago, and it got to the place that if you had been in prison, you couldn't do, it's so many millions of things they say you can't do. You can't work in a barber shop. You can't do this. You can't do that. And that girl went down to Florida recently, and she piddled around, couldn't get a job. Finally one day she said, I'm getting me a job. And lo and behold, she went somewhere and the people say, for me to fill out this application. She filled it out. Now she's working over a place where the people have already been through drugs. What is it after that? The place they go after that.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's in a Holiday Inn. They took it over. And she's doing that, and she's made enough money to buy her a house. I said, girl, go ahead on. And she's even old. She told, I ain't gonna tell you how old she told me it was the other day. That girl told me how old she was. I said, ooh, don't tell nobody. Ooh. But we try to do a thing too, as we kept going into prisons every Black History Month. One of the men named Reggie Webster worked for Black on Black Love. He wrote a book about starting your own business.
Thank you.
One young man came out, got him a squeegee and a bucket, and started washing windows. The next thing he knew, he was through washing domestic, and he was washing downtown. Didn't have time for domestic.
Right.
Another young man got him a rake and a lawnmower, and started doing that. Now he has a truck and everything. So basically, we used to start our own business anyway. Before it was any prisons for us to be in, we used to, my mama had a grocery store when she was down in Arkansas. And when she came up here, I know 38th and Road, she had a barbecue stand selling fried pies for a penny. A long time ago. And my son said that's what made him know that you're supposed to have your own business. We have more businesses. They said we hire more people than anybody. Black businesses. You know, you don't think there are many. But then when they do the statistics, we found out that Black businesses hire more Black people than anybody else. Isn't that something? We don't let a lot of that stuff out. You know, we don't even know it. But there are some organizations who do work with young people. So, you know, if you get in touch with me, maybe I could put you in touch with you. Yeah, all right.
Can I just say this one thing? What we find out in our culture also is that collectively, even in this room right now, if we were to have a meeting after this show, we would create something that would cause us to feed off of each other economically. Okay, that's how resourceful the African American race is right now in America. So I entertain you networking with us after we finish and see what we can make happen. Personally, because you have the film rolling, you're doing your own film now, because you are a student at a university, and if you are that 16-year-old that you were hypothetically talking about, based on the pathways that you've taken, I would say that you are already an entrepreneur and that you maybe just need some shadowing by another business person in the city of Chicago to get you in the right networks so you can work your plan. If I would say anything to you, that's what I would say, based on what I've heard.
Like my daughter said, get with the winners.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
This has been a great sharing. Scott, I think we already started doing what you were talking about. That's going to happen afterwards. I think the sharing and
Yes.
of resources has already started. So.
Before we go, I would just
Sure.
like to thank Sherry, because she's got a lot of things here about my mother, the late Ma Houston, that's really bringing me back, you know, to the people that I've worked with all down through the years and the people who are still working. This is really something. It just makes you just keep on going. I just attended a funeral a few minutes ago of my sister-in-law, and I said, I know my mama jumping up and down because my grandson did the eulogy, his wife did the prayer, my son got up and he cries all the time. He got up and read a poem he had written. My other little grandson read the obituary. I said, Mom, I know you shine with these people. I said, all of them going to be preachers, seem like. And they all go into prisons and jails. Isn't that something? But look at all this. They don't know nothing about all this stuff she got here.
Sweet mother, if you can you recite a poem for us?
Oh, Joe, do I have a poem? Yes, I do. Joe he's just wonderful to be with me, running and ripping like this. I'm always somewhere. I had to do a funeral yesterday of a young man, and I know his people thought he was going to come out. He's such a wonderful young man. And I was in Menard a week ago, and I saw him. He was helping somebody because he always worked on doing law stuff for young people. He helped a lot of young men get out. But lo and behold, he was in there 25 years. And that day I saw him, I was going to go tell his mom how good he was doing. It's over there somewhere.
And while we're waiting for Queen Mother to...
Wait, let me finish it. I was telling him, I was going to call the mother and tell her that I saw him, how good he looked. He said, you don't even know me, do you? I said, who are you? He said, oh, I'm Philip Wallace. I said, oh. And I was going to call her and tell her. She called me, she said, Philip died today. I said, Philip died? I'm calling you to tell you that he looks better. And so they told me to find out how to get the body, which helped me because I'd never done that before. But I called the warden, and he said the coroner would get in touch with the undertaker. The undertaker was his brother, and they had the most beautiful, beautiful place. You can't find it. But
your briefcase?
Yeah.
It's here.
But the brother, I said, I know he was so hurt because he thought his brother was going to come home and they was going to go out to dinner. But instead of that, when he was putting the top back on that casket, it really got to him. I said, but I have to tell you, you did so wonderful because so many of them, nobody can claim them. You know, they just bear them however they can. But this young man.
Does that happen often? Do you see a lot of cases like that?
Yes. Because sometimes there are people by then are old or gone on.
Right.
It just happened. This young man had 8 brothers, and I forgot how many sisters, and they had this funeral home, and a lot of the sisters were married to ministers, so they all helped with the service, but they wanted me to do the eulogy because they figured I knew more on what to say about it, and it turned out to be really a beautiful occasion. Yeah.
You might have to make up a poem right now.
I don't know what's with Joe's. He's supposed to keep hold of my stuff. I might have a bankroll in there for all you know. He gone on and left it somewhere. You know it's in plastic, Joe. I was just looking at my mama was writing for the Chicago Courier.
What year is
This
that?
is 73.
Yeah.
And you know this lady, when they asked her to write for this paper, she said, I'm just a 3rd grade scholar.
Talk just a minute where we're getting your poem about your mom. How did your mom fuel you on a daily basis?
Well, my mother, when she went to the prison, she always called me and was telling me about different people, you know, the employees and also the inmates, which made when I started going, that I already knew the people, the ones who I wasn't going to waste my time talking to. She said, well, he ain't worth a penny. Then, you can't find it, Joe? And then somebody else, she would say, oh, that's a wonderful man. He ought to be the director. Yeah. We used to see, you know how we have black people training folks for a job? Yes, the one I want to read, I wanted the one I wrote, but I'll read the one he brought in. You didn't see the one, Who Am I, Joseph? Okay, I'm going to read this. This is something very good for anybody who's dealing with young people or either people that's in the institutions. Please hear what I'm not saying. Don't be fooled by me. Don't be fooled by the face I wear. For I wear a mask, 1,000 masks. Masks that I'm afraid to take off, and none of them is me. Pretending is an art that's second nature with me, but don't be fooled. For God's sake, don't be fooled. I give you the impression that I'm secure, that all is sunny and unruffled with me, within as well as without. That confidence is my name and cool is my game. That the water's calm and I'm in command, that I need no one, but don't believe me. My surface may seem smooth, but my surface is my mask, ever varying and ever concealing. Beneath lies no complacence. Beneath lies confusion and fear and aloneness. But I hide this. I don't want anybody to know it. I panic at the thought of my weakness and fear of being exposed. That's why I frantically create a mask to hide behind, a nonchalant, sophisticated facade to help me pretend, to shield me from the glance that knows. But such a glance is precisely my salvation, my only hope, and I know it. That is, if it's followed by acceptance, if it's followed by love. It's the only thing that can liberate me from myself, from my own self-built prison walls, from the barriers I so painstakingly erect. It's the only thing that will assure me of what I can't assure myself, that I'm really worth something. But I don't tell you this. I don't dare. I'm afraid to. I'm afraid your glance will not be followed by acceptance, will not be followed by love. I'm afraid you'll think less of me, that you'll laugh, and your laugh would kill me. I'm afraid that deep down I'm nothing, that I'm just no good, and that you will see this and reject me. So I play my game, my desperate pretending game, with the facade of assurance without and a trembling child within. So begins the glittering but empty parade of masks, and my life becomes a front. I idly chatter to you in the suave tones of surface talk. This is the part I like. I tell you everything that's really nothing, and nothing of what's everything, of what's crying within me. So when I'm going through my routine, do not be fooled by what I'm saying. Please listen carefully and try to hear what I'm not saying, what I'd like to be able to say, what for survival I need to say, but what I can't say. I don't like to hide. I don't like to play superficial phony games. I want to stop playing them. I want to be genuine and spontaneous and me. But you got to help me. You've got to hold out your hand, even when that's the last thing I seem to want. Only you can wipe away from my eyes the blank stare of the breathing dead. Only you can call me into aliveness. Each time you're kind and gentle and encouraging. Each time you try to understand because you really care. My heart begins to grow wings, very small wings, very feeble wings, but wings. With your power to touch me into feeling you can breathe life into me. I want you to know that. I want you to know how important you are to me, how you can be a creator, an honest-to-God creator of the person that is me, if you choose to. You alone can break down the wall behind which I tremble. You alone can remove my mask. You alone can release me from my shadow world of panic and uncertainty, from my lonely prison, if you choose to. Please choose to. Do not pass me by. It will not be easy for you. A long conviction of worthlessness builds strong walls. The nearer you approach to me, the blinder I may strike back. It's irrational, but despite what the books say about man, often I'm irrational. I fight against the very thing that I cry out for. But I'm told that love is stronger than strong walls. And in this lies my hope. Please try to beat down those walls with firm hands, but with gentle hands, for a child is very sensitive. Who am I, you may wonder? I'm someone you know very well. For I'm every man you meet, and I'm every woman you meet. I don't know who wrote it, but I love it. Because that's what's happening. People they don't want to let you see who they are. And that's the first question I'm asking the brothers and sisters as I do this Black History. I'm doing it all the way different this time. I'm going to say, who are you? Man been in prison 4 times. He's 40-something years old. Told, I don't know yet. I said, darling, don't come out there. Don't come out till you know who you are, because you're not going to make it. Got to know who you are. And I hope all of us in here know who we are.
I think we know a little better now.
Okay, darling. Thank you. That's good. Isn't that nice? Very good.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I loved it. I'm going home
Thanks,
and rest
Sherry.
now.
I forgot we should all give our
Yeah,
hands
thank you.
together.
Yeah. I knew it was something I wanted to be in.
I want to, do you have another copy of that?
Do y'all have a copy machine, Sharon?
Okay, how did we do, y'all? Did we cover all the issues? Sound like it was a black family thing going on.
But I know it's so true. Do you have a copy machine right here? No.
I'll get it.
Second floor, they upstairs. Just take it up to the office, ask them if on the second floor if they will let you do a copy.
Thank you.
You want her to go up? Huh?
Yeah, I like that.
He stopped.
I think it might be upstairs.
Well, you know, I got a grandson, and he had this maximum, and that was him. I said, you better get rid of that car, because that's not you. You know, he just felt the car was the most important thing in his life. I kept telling him, I said, when you get rid of it, you're going to start living with you.
Yeah.
This is so nice. I like to make clips.
You make one?
I've been trying. I haven't finished it yet. I've been gone so much, but I know one thing. I will never be bored in my life.
Okay.
They had the tables in there. We're getting ready to put tablecloths on and stuff.
We're okay?
Can you reach my mom?
Thank you very much.
This here?
Yeah. Thank you. Look, see this? This is a young man named Sam did this. He was in Stateville. This came out of the Sun Times.
What company are you from?
A long time ago.
I work for Comcast, but I also do freelance work.
And he's been out for a while.
Unemployment.
And I showed him the picture of the brother that I was there. He said he knew him. But anyway, he came right out of the start.
Sure.
This is who we were working with.
What did he die of? The guy who just-
They seem to get too much time.
This is like,
Because his mama said that his father died of that. And I know every once in a while she would tell me to find out how he was
He
doing.
had to have been sick, yo.
He just got sick after I left, evidently. And when they took him to the hospital, when they got ready to bring him home from the hospital, that's when he died. I said, a lot of times people look like they're getting better.
Excuse me, please. Before you leave,
Yeah.
I wanted you to just pose a question to Ernest about what inspired him to interpret the Amistad experience. Okay. So then that way we can conclude the take that way.
Okay.
And he wanted Ms. Hart.
And now we have Ernest Pitts, who's an art teacher at can I start over? Yeah. Okay, all right. Wells Prep, I'm sorry. Ernest Pitts, you're an art teacher from kindergarten to 8th grade at
Yes.
Wells Prep. Tell us about how you work with 8th graders there, and what inspired you to start this project?
Well, actually, about maybe 3 years ago, I had gave a Black History art exhibit at Wendell Phillips High School, and Ms. Hart here, she mentioned to me. She said, well, why don't you
Cut, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's good, because now I'll do it differently. Now
No, that's
we're
fine.
getting
That's
together,
great.
because then I'll bring you.
All right, and, okay, whenever you're ready. Wait, make sure there's no talking in the background, because the microphone can pick it up. Can you close the door? You can come in and watch, but, okay.
Just let me know.
Okay, we gotta make sure there's no talking in the background, because the mic will pick it up. They can close the door or something. Okay, whenever you're ready.
We just wanted to say a few words about some of the artwork that's around us, and we have with us Ernest Pitts, who's a teacher at Wells Prep, who works with kindergarten
through 8th graders. And he came in contact with Willie Lee Hart, who's a volunteer at the school, and she's the president of the Chicago Friends of the Amistad Research Center. And tell us a little bit, Ernest, about how you were inspired by Ms. Hart to start this project.
Well, actually, about maybe 3 years ago, I was given a Black History art exhibit at Wendell Phillips High School, and Ms. Hart she was looking at my artwork, and she said, why don't you do something on the Amistad? And at that time, I really didn't know too much about the Amistad, and I'm like, wow, that's something new, but it's been going on for years. So
it started a learning process from you.
Exactly. So from there, I asked for some literature on the Amistad, and from there I just took off with it.
Tell us about what we're looking at here, and what message you were trying to get across here.
Well, you're looking at pain, suffering, and you're looking at justice. And I just wanted to capitalize, like I said, the pain, suffering, and justice, to let people know what we all overcame.
How good of a job did he do, Ms. Hart?
I think he did very well. And looking at it, he has some ownership. And I think the ship in the painting symbolizes more than just one ship, the La Amistad. I think in that he over here on this side, he has slaves in chain being transported by the middle passage, and I would call this area of the ship here the Ticora, which was the ship that the Amistad Africans were brought from Africa over to Cuba.
Okay.
And then I was also, this area here, I would look at as the revolt on the Amistad, La Amistad, after they had been brought into Cuba and disguised as old slaves, been there for a long time because the slave trade was now illegal. And they were brought in violation of the treaty between Portugal, between Spain and England to end the slave trade. But the trade continues. Africans continue to be brought to this part of the world in violation of the law. So they had to take them, after they took them from the Ticora, they got them into Cuba and they had to disguise them, make them look like they had been here a long time. And then they sold, these were part of many, but the 53 Africans in the mutiny were purchased and were being transported from Cuba to another port in Cuba to work on the sugarcane plantations. There were 53 of them. There were 4 little children, 3 girls and a boy. And I look at this area of the painting as La Amistad. And of course, you know the story. They went through, they finally ended up on the coast of New York and were brought in, and then that's when the mutiny, the trial and so forth started to get their freedom. The abolitionists mobilized to get them free because they knew it was they were no slaves, they were in violation of the law. So then when they went through the court system, went to the Supreme Court, John Quincy Adams defended them before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said they were now free people, that they were free people, they could return to their homeland. And this was the first time. The important thing you have to remember about the Amistad